Now, Republican Congressman Tom Graves represents the 9th District of Georgia. Congressman, good to see you today.
Great to be with you, Contessa.
So first of all, on this vote on the spending bill for 2011, how will you vote?
Well, I'll be voting no on the spending measure for 2011. I got elected from the 9th Congressional District, and they sent a very strong message. That is, we need to save the taxpayers a lot of money. Spending is out of control in Washington, and we've got to start now. Of course, I'll be voting to repeal Obamacare, which is one of the votes as well, and I'll be voting to repeal the funding for Planned Parenthood as part of those savings measures. But as far as 2011, I believe the Democrats in the Senate have got to understand the message from the American people, and that is we cannot continue the status quo.
The deal was made between Democrats, Republicans, and the White House on this 2011 budget. It came at the last minute to prevent a government shutdown. How confident are you that, or maybe you're not, but will your vote make a difference today? Do you expect this thing to pass even without your support?
Well, I really don't know where the whip count is on either side. All I know is I'm going to, vote my conscience and my constituents, and so I'll be voting no. As to where the final vote tally is, I'm not aware of what that number is.
Let me ask you, because just as the 2011 budget has had a deal, and I guess we wait and see whether enough votes go through to pass it, we're also looking toward 2012. The president talked about his budget plan yesterday, and of course Paul Ryan's Republican-supported budget plan is out there. How concerned are you about cutting into Medicare, privatizing Medicare? This is Ryan's budget plan right now, cutting spending overall for the government at a time when we're just emerging from a recession. Does that concern you at all?
No, I believe we've got to cut a tremendous amount of spending. Washington, let's just face it, has not been forthright with the American people. It's overpromised, overcommitted, and overspent for far too long. And it is time now that Congress be very truthful with the American people, where we are as a nation and our fiscal status. And it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of boldness and a lot of truth to push through these difficult decisions. But it's clear what the president did yesterday was a do-over, and I don't know that the president needs to do a do-over.
I guess what I'm asking you, Congressman, is whether you're at all concerned about the consequences of cutting too much spending at a time when we're still on financially shaky ground.
Well, we're on financially shaky ground because we have $14 trillion in debt and three consecutive years of trillion-dollar deficit.
We're on financially shaky ground because of the kind of financial shenanigans that happened on Wall Street.
No, I wouldn't put the blame on Wall Street. You've got to put the blame on Washington. They're the ones who, look at it. The last 2 years have been a failed experiment of more taxes and more government and more spending, and it hasn't worked. With 24 consecutive months, near 9% unemployment, let's go ahead and put that in the drawer and say it didn't work. Let's move on to something different, which is less taxes and less spending in Washington, getting government out of the way so that the job creators can create jobs. That's what our focus is from the House Republicans.
Then why didn't they? They've had the lowest tax rates under the Bush-era tax cuts in years. How come we haven't seen massive job growth?
Well, what we've seen is massive job loss that began in about 2008. And I believe that was when Barack Obama. No, the job losses began in the late 2000s. And it was with high gas prices, of which we're continuing to see as well now. But when we see the stimuluses, the TARPs, the bailouts, the buyouts, cash for clunkers, they didn't work. They just didn't work. And we need to accept that. We need to move on. We don't need to point fingers, but we need to have a very positive vision for the future of our nation. And we certainly don't need to engage in class warfare, which is what the president declared yesterday.
Okay, so class warfare, that's the talking point that's being brought up again and again. Have you been told that this is the way you should couch the argument, that if you're questioning why the poor are being asked to sacrifice so much and why the wealthy are being protected by Republicans when they're enjoying the best tax rate they've had since 1950, is that class warfare to point it out?
Well, it's class warfare when you pit one group of Americans against another. And this is not talking points from any one group or another. It's just purely the facts. And when the president pulls out one group of folks and pits them against another, and in essence, he's pitting employees against their employers. Instead, we should be encouraging everyone to be successful, everyone to be wealthy, and not punish those who achieve success, but instead reward those and encourage many more to follow.
Well, I agree. I don't think anybody should be punished for being successful, but I also don't think you should be punished because you're vulnerable or disadvantaged or uneducated. Congressman, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.